Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Inspiration, motivation takes. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk about life. Our guests will share their life story. We want you to success in life and business. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk about life. We're going to speak on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are going to witness. Business with a servant's heart. With hosts Steve, Ramona, and Ray. Inspiration, education talks. Listen to the podcast.
One. Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I am so thrilled to have you join us today. We're dedicated here with this podcast, exploring the idea of doing business and living life with a purpose, that we approach our work and our lives with a servant's heart. We can truly make a difference. I know it says doing business with a servant's heart, but you could put doing life with a servant's heart podcast as well. So we'll work on both aspects of your life. We created this show for you because we want everyone to be motivated, inspired, and educated so you can make an impact in your world. Now, my guest is going to blow you away. I met her almost a year ago. We've kind of stayed connected, but she has a heart of gold coming from taking care of people. And that's something that I want you to listen to. Listen to how she talks about these things, because that's what I heard and saw as I was talking to her. Now, while you're listening to this great guest, I want you to think about how you're going to serve today and what impact you'll create today. And the key word I keep circling or emphasizing is today. I get people reaching out to me going, I heard your podcast and I didn't serve that day. And a month later, I didn't serve. So when you wait, you forget. And when you forget, you don't do it. So listen to this incredible guest, take notes, but create some impact today by serving somebody. And today's episode is proudly sponsored by an incredible partner, Pantheon Alliance. Imagine being part of an exclusive community of high-income, successful business owners and entrepreneurs from very diverse industries. Together, they are building a thought leader platform to make an impact and change in the world. So if you're interested in being part of that community, reach out. I'll get you all the information. Well, this guest I met, as I met a lot of my guests through somebody else, we met, we hit it off right away. We have the same energy, same thought, same mindset, and anybody can do this. We're not special. And she'll tell you the same thing. We're not special, but we're special because we take action. And that's what I want to hear today. Natanya, I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
I got to know what gets you up out of bed every day.
Okay. That's a great question. In fact, a lot of people are like, why are you so happy? What's going on? And I'm like, well, I woke up today. That starts it off. And so waking up is what gets me out of bed. That's also because there was a time when I thought I wasn't going to wake up, and there was a time when I couldn't walk and get out of bed. So those things, unfortunately, for good or for bad, my dark point helped me appreciate this light and this gift of being here every day. So that's what gets me out of bed. And then usually, alarm clock as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And dark points are a lot of my guests, and a lot of us had dark points, some darker than others. It's just the way life is. How do you think you got past that?
Slowly.
Yeah.
Being cheeky a little bit.
No.
I was going to comment on something that you said in the intro about serving today and not waiting. And so I would like to offer a little almost juxtaposition or companion lens for that around how we serve ourselves. And what I mean by that is being, can I curse? Like a jerk? I was going to say an a.
Do whatever you want.
Jerk, being an asshole, or not even realizing it and recognizing how you are to others is one thing, right? And then there's also how we treat ourselves, that the way we talk to ourselves about who we are, what we can do if we matter. And so for me, it was about recognizing my thoughts and feelings and actions outward that were making me sick, as well as the thoughts and actions inward to myself. and kind of starting with a rewriting of that narrative. And it was truly through other guidance and other teachers like Deepak Chopra, who I now am lucky to serve, where I read their words that I knew those things, but I didn't take them into myself. And I kind of looked a little bit bigger than me, right? At what was important. And when I started to feel like I needed a different kind of purpose and wanted to move differently in this world, that was it. It was a mindset shift first. And then it was, I mean, again, I'm not the creator of these ideas. Like you said, nothing special here. I read from other people. I took an amalgamation of things that appealed to me, like atomic habits, right? Making small change. I do have a background in behavioral science. I knew the steps. It's not like I didn't know what to do, for me anyway, right? But I felt like the chasm was so big from where I was and where I wanted to be. So that today was scary because it felt like, oh, it's not going to mean anything because I have so far to go. So I would just say for my sense, it was more like breaking it down to something so, so small. And maybe that serving is smiling at somebody.
Amen.
Maybe
That's
that serving
it's
is
yeah.
seeing someone in the checkout line with two things and you have a big cart, or seeing someone having a kid have and like being like, here you go. Like that's serving, right? And that tells you and gives you that dopamine hit, like, oh, good thing. I did good. It feels good. I did good. It feels good. I mean, it's corny, but that's how I started.
And I love it because that's what everybody should be doing or leading towards that. And thank you for the Jessica position, because you're absolutely right. And you just changed my monologue. That's why I love being a host, because I get to learn. No, you're right. If you self-worth, self-awareness leads to us, right? Because you don't have self-love, servant's heart doesn't come. Because I love myself. I know you love you. We've talked about each other, talked about that. So in your consulting and your behavioral and everything you do with these people, how do you serve them?
So where I started was more corporate and in big pharma and
Mhm.
biotech life sciences, and using behavioral science to understand human behavior and, quite frankly, how we move through managing chronic diseases, how clinicians treat patients, how they work with them, how prescriptions are written and why, and how people adhere to programs and that kind of stuff. So it was really around marketing, compliance, that kind of things, relationships, right? And so I did that because I was good at that and our teams did well with that. And that was the life that I built. I also respectfully to the industry, you know, felt and understood what I did at the time around the mechanism of action of all of these medicines in the body. And really, because I was initially wanting to do therapy, right? Be a therapist. I'm not currently a licensed therapist, but I was dabbling there, right, for a little while, and really wanted to help people, really wanted to have people feel like human beings, not like I am diabetes, but I'm a person struggling with this, and I don't want to feel bad about everything I eat all the time. And I was trying to kind of put humanity into pharma. And I'm very grateful for all of the companies that allowed and continue to allow us to do that, right? To not just make it talking at you, selling at you medicine. However, in my own health journey, which was pretty significant, including a clinical death, a real serious brain injury from sports that was undiagnosed and made me, I mean, a different person, that everyone could see, but I didn't really see for a little while. It's scary, right? Like psychosis almost, but not in terms of anger and upset and worry, anxiety, like all these things that were sort of counter to how I was operating. And be able to come back to be like the person that I am right now is almost a miracle, right? Like I wouldn't believe my story if it was someone else doing it. I was also, bedridden. I was morbidly obese. I couldn't walk. I mean, it was bad. I had multiple orthopedic stuff and surgeries. So I had a lot of time to think. In that time, I had my first husband had passed away. We had a lot of loss in the family. I had my own oncolytic stress and worrying about my own mortality. And it was a lot, but I'm very fortunate. I have a loving ecosystem. I have a roof over my head. I have a car. I have food. Um, so I'm not complaining by any of these stretches of the imagination. I also felt I don't deserve to feel bad because I have everything. So I never really was honest with myself about what I was upset about. And some of those things were self-imposed goals or ideals that were just not tenable for anybody. And let alone being, with a broken back and just giving birth to twins. And like, no, I'm not going to get to do the playground. And I felt terrible. I was like, I'm a bad mom. I'm a bad wife. I'm a bad boss. I'm like, everything was wrong. And I was angry about it, but I would act like nothing was wrong. So all of that was going inside and like making me sick from the inside. So like I said, over time, slowly, I was able to do mind shift things and then physical changes. And so the other little tip, I guess I would say, that I started noticing and talking to people about that I worked for me was finding like, I mean, literally, I'm doing this minute mindset thing, a 1 minute timer, like one of those kids' toothbrush timer if you need to, or your phone or whatever. Can you spare 1 minute of your day to take some deep breaths and think about what are you thankful for being alive in this moment? And it's corny, but if you just stop thinking about what it means or why or how homeworky it is, it will clinically potentially lower your blood pressure, help you get out of fight or flight, help your energy flow better, meaning when you're stuck in flight or flight, which is most of us stressed out all the time, right? We are blocked physically from experiencing pleasure fully, romantic, sexual, or otherwise, right? Or joy of any activity, creativity in terms of like what you want to produce or do, or in productivity, like it's because your body is ready to go run or fight, right? So it shuts off energy and flow to certain systems to be able to do that. Well, we can't do that for 24 hours a day, and all the energy gets used up and all the pleasure signals get used up. And that's why people, drink and do drugs and do all that stuff, because you now need it from somewhere else. And so this is big stuff, but starting with a really small thing, you do 1 minute, you feel okay, you actually tricked your brain just a little bit, like a grain of sand towards the big beach that we have to go through. Oh, I can feel good. Okay. Then you remember that feeling. And then you kind of build on that every day. And ideally, you get up to a larger amount of time where you do these like sort of self check-ins. And then you build up to other things. Well, now let's look at what is your biggest stressor? What is it? How can we approach that differently? And also that anticipation of like, this is wrong, and so I'm angry about it. Or this is wrong, I want to bring it down. Versus this is wrong, why is it wrong? How could it be right? What would that look like? Can I go around? Can I go through? Can I get help? Can I just let it go? And just thinking about those things differently, and you start to physically feel lighter, lifted, lighter, and you build on that. And every day you remind yourself. I mean, I had a paper calendar, and I would X to try and get myself to do what I knew from behavioral science needed 21 to 27 days to make or break a habit. So to make myself kind of continue to do it. And if I missed a day, telling myself that's okay, just go back the next day. Because even from any changes of behavior, if you skip one day here and there, but you don't like beat yourself up or say, well, I already screwed up, it's over, which is most of us, and whether we admit that or not, then you actually still can actually make that habit. It's really just when you go over more than 2 days where sort of you fall out of the flow, right? So anything is possible, cheesy platitudes, but finding ones that work for you and then start to lean into those. And what feels good, lean into that. I mean, it's basic stuff, but I wasn't doing it, I admit.
And it's interesting. Serving is a behavior, I believe, that and anybody can do it. But again, it's work with somebody like you have that mindset. You said a phrase that I absolutely love that I'm going to borrow: loving ecosystem. Above you is XOXO. You explained before the show what it's about. Can you share with the audience? Because I think this is fantastic.
Okay. So yeah, on Valentine's Day, I sort of said radical self-love on a show. And I was like, oh, I guess is that too corny? Is that a thing? I guess that's what I love. And what I put out there once on a LinkedIn post was about people's superpower. And that's what our mental health uh, support app, is a lot about, unlocking the superhero within you for young people, right? But we're if we're breathing and able to sort of cognitively use our faculties, we are able to grow and change, I think, at any age.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of where our pain comes from, often that we give pain or receive or self-inflicted, is about this lack of basic love and appreciation for yourself and others. And that's it. I mean, it's so corny. And when I notice that kind of healing, and when I say this is oversimplified, because when we're talking about major depressive disorders, suicidal ideation, addiction, which is the space that I do work in, right? So that's the zone I'm trying to help. But I start really up here. I start up here instead of dark. And I talk about like what makes you feel good about yourself. What is it? Just start with one or two things. And most people can think of one thing or two things. And they might be a physical attribute first. Fine. They might be something that they did in the 5th grade or something. Fine. You know, it doesn't matter. But also most of us, if we're somewhat self-aware or on our path to self-awareness, have regrets, have shame, have guilt, have some core belief that might be you're not good enough or you're not deserving of love. Maybe there was different kinds of abuse in childhood, you know, all kinds of reasons. But most of them deep down lead to a basic, either contentious feeling of self or harmonious feeling of self. And so if you can flick that switch or start to chip away at it, that's where the magic starts to happen. And that's why it's love. It's really, so someone
Yeah.
wrote back to me like, your superpower is love. And I thought it was about, honestly, at the time when I wrote this post, it was about like, I'm a really good businesswoman or I'm a really good at, you know, predictive analytics. That's my superpower. And then
Yeah.
one of my old bosses from pharma wrote, Natanya, your superpower is love. And I was like, that's funny. And it just struck me. I was surprised he wrote that. I was surprised it was in LinkedIn because I'm like, this is work. And
Yeah.
and I was like, that's corny, you know, and I sort of started to lean into it. And then it became everything. And it became the language for everything. Like, you're meant to be here, whoever you are. And I say this to anyone, right? If you don't believe that's true, let's start there.
And love needs to be more business. The love culture needs to be in business more. And I talked about it at one event, and I'm with you. We don't talk about it enough. I mean, I love you as a partner, helping each other grow. It's okay. They can be tied together. You mentioned the app. I want to dive into it because I'm super excited because you're helping them, or I guess Gen Zs are called, or the younger
Yeah.
people. Talk about this wonderful app.
Yeah, I won't go into it too much because I didn't come to have this conversation to, you know, promote my wares, if you will. But one of the things I'm really proud of being a part of, and I did not create this. Ivy Michelle is the creator, and I'm really, you know, a co-founder of helping bring it to life, to the marketplace, to the audience, and working with the young people. But it is really a labor of love in and of itself. It is technologically pretty cool too, but it is born from a desire to help heal others, right? And maybe not do it in the most conventional way in terms of, again, respectfully to the psychological paradigms and industry. It is not a diagnostic, meaning it's not like a medical therapy. It's not therapy. And it says there doesn't even say therapy really on the website, right? It's more an empowerment tool, right? To help young people. One of the things we noticed a lot is that they're not having actual conversations, not with each other. Like back in the day, if you're Gen X or older, maybe even elder millennials can relate to the thing called like the telephone that had a cord on it. Maybe it had a little antenna you pulled up. And that was the way, especially if you were like in a suburb or something, like that was the way you talk and writing pen pal letters, right? That was the way you engaged with other people outside of, let's say, school or something like that. And so what that does, it gives you a back and forth, it gives you a rapport, you get feedback, you know where you stand, and you develop like who you are from some of those conversations, along with all the other facets of your life. Well, enter modern times and Gen Z and social media and these curated selves. I have my Instagram, I have my Finsta, which is the fake Insta. I have my TikTok, I have some of them all have a LinkedIn. I have my school, but I have this club, I have that. And so now there are these fractured selves that are not fully formed at a young age without any kind of rhythm and flow that feels genuine because everyone's looking. It's a fishbowl.
That's
COVID
yeah.
exacerbated it. So in the app, you talk. It's an audio journal. You talk because when you talk, rather than when you text, you start to let go of some of those, let's just say, guard keepers of your true self. You can stream of
Mm.
consciousness, emote more easily, and they're not used to doing that. So when they start to do that and we ask questions about, like, so the app takes you through a journey, right, to unlock the you that's within you and help you get, you know, unstuck if you're, let's say you had a bad breakup or you're struggling with your sexual identity or whatever your thing is, right? you can kind of work through that. And the AI is trained to work with you in that journey and help you empower yourself. But a lot of times it's hidden things from yourself that you wind up realizing are sort of your blocker or your barrier. And that's the kind of essence of it in one way. The other, there are social elements of it, but again, it's more of like a love ecosystem, a social amplifier. So instead of, oh, look at me, I'm so cool, it's, oh my gosh, you had a bad breakup, I had a bad breakup too. Or, oh, you can't tell your parents you're gay, I have that too, or whatever. It's really more of like a support network amplified, but with authentic,
Yeah.
authentic exchange.
I love the word empowerment for young people because it's missing. And you, for all the reasons I'm not going to go over, like you said, with social media. That's why I wanted you to bring it up, because that's the power. Yeah, it's an app and it's a business, but it's much deeper than that. And that's
Yeah.
why I love about you is you're doing these type of things. Somebody listening right now, Natanya, is going, God, I love all this. What's my first step?
I mean, it can be as corny as getting a piece of paper, or if you'd rather dictate into your phone, whatever you're into, whatever your most natural way to like make a to-do list is, I'll say, right? You're going to make a
Mhm.
to-do list for yourself, but it can't be something that feels like work. It's going to be a to-do list of, let's say, 5 awesome things you would love to do. That's an exercise. Look at those things and then ask yourself, why am I not doing these things? Oh, because it's cost prohibitive is a lot of times. Like someone might say, I want to go to Italy and I don't have money for that.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at that, and sort of back into what it might look like and take maybe not all the steps to get there, or have a life that allows for you to do some things on those lists. And then you start to see, where are you feeling either unappreciated or compromised or unfulfilled in your
Mhm.
daily life, whether that be career, personal, or otherwise. Start to just notice and look at those things and then see. And that's what it is for the young people. It's not even just empowerment, it's this resilience, it's this ability to navigate that everything is happening anyway. So how do you flow with it? How do you take a mistake? We were talking about this before, losing money, investing in the wrong things, what have you. How do you take it from being, I messed up, to that happened and this is what I learned, and here's what I want to do the next time, or how I want to approach the next one. And again, these things are all, I didn't make this up. These are all layers of years and years of workshops, from C-suite fintech people to inner city youth. It's the same stuff. The language I use might be different, but ultimately it starts with, what do you like? What do you care about? What do you want? Do you even know what that is? And a lot of
Yeah.
people, believe it or not, don't.
Yeah, no, they don't. No, that, especially their purpose and their why, which even at a young age, I think that's, if you can find out in your 20s, it's a game changer. We're getting to run out of time here, but you have a nonprofit. Again, your heart is a servant heart with lots of love. Talk about your nonprofit.
So yes, I'm very fortunate. I am board chair of an organization called Women Who Create. And that's one of the organizations, but that's one in New York City. And it is a mentor and scholarship program for women of color, or those identify as such. It's also for trans folks, to be clear. And we offer scholarships, and we have a mentorship app, and we match people. You can have actually up to 5 matches, because that's important, because a distinction of like, maybe this is a person you're really interested, but it's not the right industry. And then this person's in the right industry, but they're not, someone who, you're as much aligned to, and that kind of thing. So you can kind of play around, or you don't know what you want. We found a lot in the minority community. There was sadly, like, we put out surveys to find out if this was a need. They didn't have mentors, or certainly didn't feel like they could get them.
Yeah.
And there wasn't generational wealth. There wasn't, that kind of network of security and support in the corporate world, or in the tech world, or in the fashion world, wherever they were in. And so that's a big part of that. And I'm really proud to be associated with them. We just celebrated our 5-year anniversary last November, and it was a pretty amazing feeling. I also do want to just mention, if I could, Create It Labs. It is the largest makerspace in New Jersey, and it is a nonprofit, and there is a for-profit arm, but it is a place where you can learn a new trade or skill, or practice your trade or skill. Let's say if you're metalworking or woodworking or robotics or 3D printing, and you don't have the equipment, or maybe you were had a bad spot, and now you were in recovery and you come out and you have to start from scratch.
Yeah.
You can come and kind of re-enter society by having a place where you can rent tools and things like that. And there are some government grants and things, for some people it's no cost, for some there is some cost, but also for like seniors to get out and meet new people and be in the community or learn a new thing and just build a birdhouse or do something fun. So there's classes, it's kind of, there's also robotics competitions, stuff for kids. And so it's really to bring back the trades and bring back sort of that medieval feudal, like we all know how to make and do stuff, because I believe that's also therapeutic and healing for us to kind of make. Sometimes, sometimes it's doing laundry. People feel a sense of release because they're like, at least I did one thing today. And maybe it's
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you did. So I do want to mention both of those places, because the other part that is available that's outside of, you don't have to be geographically tied to New Jersey, or it's near Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey area. If you have an idea for a product and you want to bring it to life and you don't have resources and you don't want to necessarily put it out overseas, it's also a product development laboratory. So there's a couple layers there of why I'm passionate about that. My really good friend from the life sciences world from 2001, I think. Yeah, he bought a warehouse in a downtown building that was a little bit more economically depressed and is getting revitalized, and we're trying to help build up the community there. There was, a lot of their opioid crisis hit that area pretty hard. So that's another area. So I work sort of like in high tech, but I also really respect and want to support the trades.
Fantastic. You're such a servant's heart in so many opportunities. This is truly what a servant heart does. They find where they can make an impact and they move forward and they take action. God bless you so much. You're a rock star. Let's end the show with this great question. So you've got a reservation at a restaurant. It's a table of 4. You're, of course, sitting in one chair. In the other 3 chairs, dead or alive, who would you invite? Why would you invite them? And what food would you order? Just off the top of your head.
I'd kind of corny, but I'd love Japanese food.
Nice. No,
or Indian food. Oh my gosh. I'm really feeling stumped, and I know we have to be quick and end. So I think I would like to be with, it's kind of personal, but people in my life that have passed away.
That's beautiful. No, that's great. Whoever they are. Hey, if we have to bring 8 chairs in, we'll bring 8 chairs. This is your restaurant, your reservation. We'll just tell the maitre d' we need 8 more chairs. Bring the Japanese.
Yeah, there's a hitchhiker's guide.
Yeah, no,
right?
absolutely.
Or I mean,
no,
honestly, anything. As long as there's a little dessert, I'm there.
Amen. Gotta have that little chocolate. Well, and real quick, mention your podcast. Won't get into it too much. I know you, but what's the name of the podcast and where can they find it?
Okay. Yeah, just sort of as an advocacy platform, because it's all run through a nonprofit. It's called the Natanya Experience, and it's kind of similarly to you, but we do have some different genres that we talk with people about how they're living their best life. The true mission is to help with addiction and suicide and depression, but we focus on how people are doing great. And then we talk about how they got through a difficult time. And this also, we have psych and hip hop in that, game mindset. So we have athletes, entertainers, all different kinds of people at all levels of, let's say, commercial success, but also everyday folks. Similarly, just trying to get real about these conversations and have the conversations in kind of cultures that don't always allow for people to admit that they're struggling.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So reach out, Natanya Experience. I think you're going to love it. I know I will. How can people find you, support you, reach out to you?
Just finally getting into the Instagram world with help. So we have a YouTube channel, Instagram. We have things in development for larger scale things, with TV and the usual network, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, that kind of stuff. So right now it's just, like I said, it's just starting, mostly just YouTube and Instagram.
We'll have all that information in the show notes. Natanya, I want to thank you so much. This was a brilliant show. You are just full of knowledge and you're a rock star. I'll say it again. And because you're giving and you're receiving, but you're such a servant's heart, that's your forefront of your mind. And I love that. Thank you again for taking the time to be on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You bet. And the YouTube channel, comment on the YouTube channel, critique the show. If you want to send a comment to Tanya, I'll get it to her So, or reach out to her, like you said, on the different social media platforms. Subscribe. You get to listen to the show over and over again because there's so many great tips. And just her energy, I'm going to listen to it just to uplift my day, because really she's doing that. And a lot of my guests do that. She's one of many great guests, over 400 guests I have. Something might relate with you. So, and it doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. Go ahead and subscribe. Also, too, don't forget my TV show, Together We Serve, every Friday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. And as always, me and Natanya, I want to thank you so much for watching or listening to this podcast. We'll see you in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. And share this with a friend, because I think they'll be happy you did. Have a great day. Bye-bye.